Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of r/Entitled Parents. In today's episode, I'm an unwanted guest in my brother's home because I didn't buy what his wife wanted. A crazy woman attacked my daughter at the movies. Entitled parent and kid at Walmart. Before we get started, make sure to subscribe so you will never miss a video. So let's get started. I'm an unwanted guest in my brother's home because I didn't buy what his wife wanted. I have an older brother, and we have a great relationship. He's married, but I never felt comfortable around his spouse. But since it's not my business, I never said anything, especially since my brother seemed happy with his choice. 2 weeks ago was my niece's 5th anniversary. They decided to throw a big party, and I was invited. I asked my brother what to bring to his kid since I'm not good at all these things. But he said that any toy should do. A few days after this conversation, his wife called me and said that her kid needed an iPad and that it would be great if her uncle would bring her one. It amazed me, so I called my brother and asked him again, but he said the same thing: bring some toy and forget about it. I consulted with my friend who has 2 kids, and she told me that a mud kitchen for kids would be great for this age, arguing that it's an excellent way to teach a kid new skills. So I simply ordered one and wrapped it festively. When opening the gifts, mine was the last. My niece had a tantrum when she saw it was not a tablet. She started screaming at her mom, "You said that uncle would give me a tablet. You promised me." It was an ugly scene, and they barely calmed her down. Everyone stared at me, and I felt very uncomfortable. While my brother was saying goodbye to the guests, his wife approached me and started scolding me for letting them all down and making me look bad. She apparently expected that I'd apologize, and since I didn't, she got outraged. She started yelling that until I won't learn to respect her and won't buy the iPad, I'm not a wanted guest in their house. I simply left. The weirdest thing is that my brother doesn't answer my calls since then. TBH, I don't know what to think. Is this my fault? This is not your fault. WTF, your brother sucks as much or more than his wife since he isn't owning up to the fact his wife is pathetic. Yeah, your brother should have your back on this since it sounds like you may have gotten her the iPad. Had your brother just confirmed? You being put in the middle of couple drama and they're making you the scapegoat. It seems like Syl went behind brother's back to request the iPad, which is kinda expensive for a kid, but that's just MO. Meanwhile, brother is being a real coward, not speaking to you. Take a large step back from this people. If anyone's stupid enough to buy a 5-year-old an iPad, it should be the parents. Mud Kitchen was a far superior gift for a 5-year-old. If someone had said to buy a 5-year-old a tablet, the most they'd get is one of those kids' suitable VTech type things. Absolutely no way would I give a kid that age anything that could connect to the internet. Wow. Just wow. The audacity of the entitlement of the mom was bad enough, but to pass it down to your 5-year-old niece. Sounds like your brother may be afraid to reach out to you or had his cell phone taken away until you apologize. Where does this obvious bad blood stem from? This feels so weirdly like a setup. The wife calls separately and tells OP to bring a very expensive gift. Brother confirms that's not necessary. Syl then tells her daughter she's getting expensive gift. When it isn't what the kid wants, scene ensues and Syl banishes the OP for not providing pricey gift. NTA. But I am baffled at the odd sense of entitlement from the Syl to demand an iPad and become enraged when it is not provided. Honestly, you're probably going to have to let things cool off. Your brother will probably come around, but the Syl is a write-off unless you're prepared to fund her egotistical requirements for the privilege or her and her daughter's presence in your life. She's attempting to isolate OP's brother from OP to gain greater control. Manipulation 101. Gross, they are raising their kid to be an entitled brat, not your fault. They're going to regret it as she gets older, because I'm sure her behavior will get worse as well. What 5-year-old needs an iPad? And even if they decided that was an age-appropriate gift, then they should be footing the bill. That is way more than most people could afford to spend on their niece. A mud kitchen sounds like a great gift. My friend's kid has one and he absolutely loves it. It's a great gift for a kid that age. I'm getting one for my niece for her next birthday. The entitlement and audacity of SIL. I think your brother dares not to contact you right now and has his phone monitored. Maybe another relative can pass a message? On the other hand, now that you are an unwanted guest, you have a reason to stay away from SIL. Also, maybe this has opened his eyes for the dragon he is living with. Your brother is the POS hero P. You asked him what to get, he tells you twice that a toy is fine. You actually do as he says and you're the bad guy? His wife clearly has him by the balls. Just pity him, be glad you won't have to deal with her, and make sure everyone knows the real story. You should send a gift-wrapped box of iPads as an apology. Also, you would be nuts to give a 5-year-old an iPad. Kids that age need ruggedized electronics because they throw them about. A crazy woman attacked my daughter at the movies. My daughter, 16, who is part of the LGBTQ community, likes to dress in a very androgynous/boyish way. This is okay, she has always been like this, and this year, she has been free to express herself. A few months ago she got a pixie cut, which looks amazing on her. When the Super Mario movie came out, she went to see it at the cinema with some of her friends. I wasn't there, so this is the story she told me. After the film, they wanted to go somewhere else to eat, but first she went to the toilet in the theater. There she saw a middle-aged woman and her little daughter. My daughter was quick, but when she came out of the stall, the woman confronted her. One of the things she said was, "Why are you here? You should not be here." My daughter was obviously confused, and then the woman grabbed her by the hair and shouted, "Why are you after my child?" My daughter then cried and said, "Please let me go." After begging as if her life depended on it, the woman let her go and then demanded that she prove that she was a girl. My daughter cried and froze while this crazy woman screamed at her and told her to take off her trousers. She refused, of course, but a man came in, saw what was happening and said to the woman, "Honey, what the hell are you doing?" The woman pointed to my daughter and said, "This man tried to touch child's name." The man just looked at her in confusion and said, "Let's get out of here, now." So they left and didn't come back. Security was called, but they had already left the theater. My daughter was reunited with her friends and then she called me. She was very upset and panicked, obviously it was traumatic for her. We are still working on it, but she has been very quiet in therapy. The days after that she tried to dress as feminine as possible. She almost looked like Barbie after that, but I could tell she was miserable and hated every minute of it. We tried begging her to stop and just be herself, but she is afraid that some random person will attack her again. She finally stopped, but is trying to be modest in her style. I've had enough of this town. Since my husband and I became openly LGBTQ allies, we have seen some people ostracize us. Even my sister told me I should match my daughter with a boy to fix her. It's even worse for her, of course, because her school does nothing about bullying, and the school district is discussing banning books. I was seriously planning to move to a bigger city in a better state, and both my daughter and my husband agreed. I'm very sad that I didn't realize earlier how bigoted this town and my environment are, because until last year we didn't deviate from the norm. I need to make sure that my daughter can be safe and be herself. Since she came out, our bonds as a family have become so much stronger, but relations with the rest of the town have deteriorated and many bridges are being burned, but they're not my daughter, so I don't care. Edit, yes, we did a police report, but the police has been unhelpful. Allegedly they went to the theater to request security cam footage, but every time we ask for updates, there is just none. We were focused on our daughter's mental health because she needed us and our support. Thanks for your support and concern, but it's not always as easy. Hopefully we'll find them, but our hopes are low. This is a case where the police should be involved. Also, find a lawyer. That family can be found and sued. Sued. They assaulted a minor. There's footage of them in the theater and in the parking lot without a doubt. Call the police and file a report. This isn't some civil suit. This was criminal assault and quite literally a hate crime. This behavior is a direct result of the hateful rhetoric being regurgitated by conservatives. They're literally becoming the very thing they claim to hate the LGBT for. Predatory actions against children. In my 40 years on this planet, I've only heard of a LGBT individual being a POS to children just a few times. The amount of times I've heard of priests, nuns, preachers, and clergy raping and molesting kids, I've lost count. This is a hate crime and needs to be prosecuted. I am so sorry that evil woman attacked your wonderful daughter. You're doing great, Mama Bear. I would highly suggest she gets in some queer support groups for herself. Things are getting worse. I feel for her because I am non-binary and would prefer to more often than not dress in an androgyny style, but don't because something like this has happened to me as well. It's good she is in therapy. I'm sorry this happened. It's ridiculous that in this day and age people are so ignorant. It's like we are going backwards. I have accompanied my child into the restroom as recently as a few months ago, and they are 23 years old. My child is trans and is concerned about this very issue. Hopefully you will find a better place for all of you to live. Take it the local media asking for witnesses. Put pressure on the police. I'm sorry OP. This is my fear, that something like this will happen with my teen daughter. Entitled Parent and Kid at Walmart. I'm actually a bystander in this story, so thankfully it wasn't me who was involved. Earlier today, I went to Walmart. I picked up a pretty badass Naruto t-shirt, and then I went to the toy aisle to see if they had any Pokemon cards and Spider-Man action figures, and then a few minutes later I heard a commotion going on in the next aisle, so I took a peek. Apparently a guy, he looked to be in his late teens, grabbed a Nerf gun, don't know which one it was, I'm not into Nerf guns, however I do know it was a rather large one, and there was a kid with his mom, and the kid really wanted it. The kid looked to be about 7 to 8 years old. The mom kept arguing with the guy on how her kid deserves it more because he's too old to be playing with Nerf guns. Meanwhile, the kid was having a full-on tantrum because he couldn't get the toy. The guy wasn't impressed, and he responded by saying that he wanted it for a while, and that he saved up his money to get it, and that he's a collector. The mom still kept saying that it's just a child's toy and that he deserves it more. The kid kept on crying even louder, knowing that he wasn't going to get it. Honestly surprised no employees showed up. They argued for about 10 minutes until the mom just gave up and decided to buy her kid an even bigger Nerf gun, to which he agreed to. Nothing special happened after that, however I do feel bad for the poor guy who just wanted to buy a Nerf gun. Don't prolong conversations with Karens. This is the oxygen that they live for. Grab your stuff and leave. I'm a 40-year-old woman with 4 Nerf guns. We deserve them more for having adult responsibilities. Love it. Hubs and I are pushing 60 and we both have Nerf guns. There are always entitled parents like this at stores who think their children deserve an item just because it's for kids. Companies don't care as long as people buy their products. Argued for 10 minutes? Why in the world did that last an extra 9:45? It should have started and ended with an O. Nice and quick. Don't engage with people that start this shit. Simple answer, no, and walk away. You don't owe them anything else. You seem like it's awesome being around you. You bought a Naruto shirt and looked after Spider-Man/Pokemon stuff. That's so cool. Karen repellent, grab stuff, sprint out, dodge shopping carts. If you made it to the end of the video, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share, and we will see you in the next video.